You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Fullerton Unfiltered. It's Brian Fullerton here. Hey, guys, we have a special guest on the line, and that is one of my really good friends. We have Mike Bedell with Bedell Property Maintenance or Management? Management, right, Mike?
Bedell Property Management.
Wow, I had a little fake out there. I don't know how I forgot that, but you and I, our headspace has been every other direction right now as we're dealing with the coronavirus, the pandemic, everything going on, man. So how you been? What's going on in your world?
Well, I'm in the same boat as everybody else. It's been an interesting couple weeks here. We went from full tilt preparing to dive right in and have a great spring to having to pump the brakes as our governor here in Michigan as of 12:01 this morning. And this is Tuesday when we're recording it. So as of Tuesday morning, we're basically shut down for the next 3 weeks unless she changes something in writing and adds lawn and landscape related services to the essential businesses list. So,
Sure.
You know, changing directions, and there's always lots to do, but, you know, spent the better part of today kind of dealing with and addressing those issues so that it doesn't maybe totally tie up and bog down my next couple weeks here. And in turn, we're ready to hit things running in a couple weeks, assuming that society's in a different and better spot.
Right, 100%. Well, it's funny and weird at the same time doing this because you and I have actually already done 2 episodes on the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. And it's funny, you're making your debut under a crisis. So,
well, that's how it all works.
Crazy.
You even had a plan here. As your friend, I've seen you spent a lot of time and a lot of effort really making this podcast is what it is. And you certainly, you know, with all that effort, you're working a plan. And like the rest of us, your plan has probably changed a little bit here. And I imagine it's like most other media-related things. The stories you had planned to talk about just aren't so important today, but, you know, a week or 2 from now, it might just fit in a little bit better.
No, for sure. Well, it's exciting times, man. It's crazy times. It's here's the word I keep using: unprecedented times. You know,
Agreed.
I'm looking at the the handbook, right? And you know, terrorism. Hey, that wasn't in the employee handbook in 9/11, right? 2001, and who would have thought pandemic? See page 87 under epidemic/pandemic for your orders of operation, right? And so the manual's going to get updated again, man. And
as life always seems to do, it finds new ways to throw stuff at you that you never would have thought, and it's just how we all have to roll with it.
Sure. Well, here's what we're gonna do. On this episode, I was asking Bedell. We were talking. We've been texting and DMing on Instagram a bunch the last 48 hours. Just sharing info, relaying info. Hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? And just having conversations, just like you guys all are. Here's the bottom line. We're gonna talk about some helpful tips to like Mike just said with pumping the brakes. Let's look at our businesses a little bit more strategically here on this podcast. There's definitely some best practices we can do right now. There's some things that might have been all systems go, right, Mike? About a week ago. That
absolutely.
When we get the go no go for launch, it might be a no go on engine 4, and we might be shutting this thing down, and that's okay. You know, things happen. But we have some practical tips that Mike was already alluding to and sharing with me before we hit the record button. There's some things that I wanted to mix in, maybe just some helpful tips for where we're at in this business. This podcast, like Mike said, super timely. You know, we're all in this together. Over the next 2 or 3 weeks, it's going to be unprecedented times. This might not relate for us 60 days from now. Let's pray to God that we kind of all see this through. But in the meantime, there's some things that I think that are going to be really helpful tips with where to spend money, how to spend money, what we're doing for marketing, what we're doing for equipment, kind because it's not business as usual, right, Mike? This is the first time in my 12 years or 13th season that we've had to approach spring in a different fashion. And is that kind of similar to what you're experiencing?
Absolutely. We've dealt with interesting weather situations or late starts to a spring, early starts to a spring. But this is certainly something very different. And I'll say this: I hope that this is kind of a one and done situation, and that this is something that hopefully as a society we can all move on from and be better suited with to deal if it ever happens again. But hopefully this is one and done. It doesn't turn into a reoccurring theme, because like you were saying, we'll update the playbook, but it doesn't mean you want to have to run this play again.
Amen. Yeah, definitely challenging times, unprecedented times. But here's the deal: I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I think Mike is as well, and we're both going to share some different things that can not only help you manage and tread the water that we're dealing with right now, but also hopefully give us some ammo. And we're just putting that spring under tension so we can all springboard into a triumphant start to the season if it does come 3 or 4 weeks from now, right? And so let's do this. We're going to jump into it here. Let's hear from the show sponsors, and we'll get right back into it.
Are you looking to be more efficient, effective, safe, and profitable out in the field? Ballard Products has a full line of innovative products to help you in your everyday operations. From mower gear, trailer gear, backpack sprayers, equipment racks and storage, safety gear and equipment servicing products, and much, much more. We're sure you'll find something you can't live without. With over 30 years in the lawn care industry and 20 years selling great products, we're confident these products will meet the use and abuse of the everyday lawn pro. Jump on Ballard-Inc.com to check out the full line of gear, and be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as well. Keep grinding and be safe out there, friends.
All right. Well, hey, always appreciate you guys supporting us with Brian's 10 on Ballard Inc. And also, of course, thanks to Ballard Inc. for sponsoring this episode. And by the way, Brian's 10 saves 10% on their whole website. So if you guys need different trailer racks or different mower accessories, so on and so forth, really great stuff there. In fact, hey, Mike, I was actually supposed to go on a flight today to go see Corey. And I think I told you that got canceled. And so I should be in Iowa right now or heading back from Iowa at the time of this. And but you know what? Again, things change, man. I think the biggest word that I've heard in business, the biggest skill, the biggest attribute that a business owner can have is the word adapt or adaptability. And I think we're going to be talking a lot about adapting and some adaptability on this podcast. And you know what, dude? Selfishly, I'm actually like really bummed, like with having this podcast come out before the other one that you and I did. You know, just to keep it upbeat. You and I did like a 2-hour podcast, and then we did another 2.5-hour podcast in studio. You came over to my house, which was super cool. I got to show you the new place. It's been about 4 or 5 months that we've been here, and it was just a really cool time. And that podcast is slated out to come out in April. And dude, we got into your business, our relationship. We talked about YouTube. We went way down the rabbit hole, but I said, hey, Bedell, can I get you on earlier instead and have a calm, soothing voice to the viewers and the fans? and you said, sure. So, hey, so before we jump into it, let's do this. Because people... If people have watched my videos, I'm sure they've seen you in a few dozen of them by now. But if people don't know who you are and don't know your business and all your stats, why don't you spend 2-3 minutes, maybe give everybody your lineage and your story, since the other podcast that we did all this is coming out after this. Go figure. So you can take it away.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm Michael from Bedell Property Management, and I'm located very close to where Brian is. We located about 10 minutes from each other, and I've been around for 15 years in this industry, even longer if you count my time as the neighborhood lawn kid. And much like a lot of you guys, that's how I got started, was mowing neighbors' lawns. And my first vehicle was a pickup truck, and that I was able to lift the push mower into the back of, and started kind of doing family friends yards at that point, and things have just grown and grown. I went and got a degree in ornamental horticulture and another degree in landscape design, and used those as a platform to accelerate my business. And here we are. It's been an excellent run. And if there's anything I've learned the past week or two is even when you've seen a lot of things, there's always some new stuff that you can experience and learn from, and we're all living that right now.
Right. Well, we're it's definitely interesting time. So, and then you got started about 13, 14 years ago as well, which is really cool, like you were saying. And so, do you do more mowing, more maintenance, or a little bit of everything, or what's your expertise?
A little bit of everything. We've take the first 5 years of business is really trying to figure out the trajectory and niche that we wanted to operate in. And at this point, it's mainly servicing high-end residences and estates, some commercial buildings. But it tends to be very all-inclusive, where we're doing pretty much everything or managing the things that we don't provide on those sites. So
Sure.
It's a little bit more specialized, but yeah, we'll do everything from mowing to hedge trimming to fertilizing to plowing snow to designs, installing outdoor lighting, irrigation, you name it. My clients will always find new and interesting ways to keep us busy, and we've been very blessed to move into that market and have that type of clientele where it's in all transparency. It's been a very long time since our schedules had this type of a hole in it, and it's a little unique and rare to see some of the busiest weeks in the season sitting empty on our schedule, especially given the work that we have waiting for us. But it is what it is.
Right. Well, why don't you give everybody the lay of the land, dude? Because with what you said, 11:59. So let's talk about essential services, right? At the time of this, some of us are deemed essential. Some of us are not deemed essential. And if you are, fantastic, awesome. I'm very, very happy for you. If you're not, my only prayer is just be patient, be calm. Easy for me to say, I'm sure. But honestly, guys, we have money in the bank. We're not, totally screwed or anything like that. But I also don't pretend that I don't want to make more money. You know what I mean? I'm handcuffed too. Trust me, I want to be out there just as much as you guys do. And my family, some of them are laid off, and I'm a realist that money is not, there might be a bailout, there might be a little bit of a stimulus check or some unemployment, but I don't know about you, Bedell, but not all of my family is uber financially successful. And eventually, those eyeballs are going to point to Liz and I, right? And so, and we're not heroes either, but you know what I'm saying? So why don't you give the lay of the land? What you're more of my my go-to guy with details and numbers and stats and policy, so I'm sure you've been consumed in it way more than I have the last 48 hours, just to be honest. So why don't you give the lay of the land? What's essential? What's not essential? And what does that mean, in case anybody doesn't know and is living under a rock?
Yeah, so basically, there's been some mandates at the federal level that a majority of states, if not all states, have chimed in and added, in some cases, their own layers to things, or further. I hate to use the word clarification because in our state there's not a lot of that right now.
Right.
So
right.
That's definitely not the right use of the word. But we've also even seen at some levels the individual counties either more strictly enforcing, or in certain states like Florida, the governors kind of step back and let individual counties decide what they want to do. And you have counties right next to each other that have very opposing views on it. So
right.
For us in Michigan, the key word is essential services. And basically, if you're not first responder, police, fire, EMS, you're not working at a hospital, you don't work at a grocery store or a pharmacy or a bank or a gas station, or a takeout food place, maybe like a pizza shop or a McDonald's or something like that. All I mentioned, those are really the majority of what's allowed, and there are a few more rare niche type exceptions to that list. And there's certainly been some healthy debate the past day or so over whether our industry is included in that.
Sure.
But what I've seen over the past, especially day, the governor made the announcement about 11 a.m. on Monday for things to take effect about 12 hours later. And that afternoon, as well as this morning, there has been additional clarification from people at our State Department of Agriculture, as well as certain state representatives, that they all seem to be singing the same tune of lawn and landscape-related services are not deemed essential, and the argument could be made if we did happen to see a rogue snow event here, because it's still March. In theory, it's possible,
True.
even though based on our weather, it's been a pretty warm and tame March in terms of winter weather. So not real likely that's going to happen. They mentioned the argument could be made for snow removal services to get added, maybe even just like a temporary 48-hour statute to get things cleaned back up, and as Boss likes to say, restore order, right? But as of now, everyone in our green industry, unless you're doing some utility-related work, is shut down, and we are not deemed essential workers and or essential services. And unless that changes here, it just is what it is. And,
Right.
and there certainly are state-organized groups like the Michigan Green Industry Association or the Michigan Nursery and Landscape Association, who have lobbyists and are lobbying the state for A, clarification, and B, really for us to get added to that list. And truthfully, I kind of have a little bit of mixed feelings about that. I'm not sure that's I get they have good intentions, but I do fear how the public receives that. People seem to have very polarizing views. Not to get in the weeds on this, but people have really polarizing views. If you spend any time on social media, especially anybody that has family members in the healthcare industry, seems to be very steadfast in everyone needing to stay home. And no, I hate to say it, but like I've never second guessed putting out there that I'm with an organization like that, but at the same time, you got to be cognizant of how everyone's receiving your company, the people that you relate with or associate with, and how all those people are being received and their actions are being received by the general public. And
Sure.
so they, basically the moral of the story is, unless something changes, we can't work. And people have all sorts of opinions about that. And
what's your if you don't mind me asking, and you can opt out or pass, because we didn't talk about this, but what's your official opinion? Like, do you think that what we do, in a extreme, I mean, like we're going to World War III, I don't think people are going to be worried about mowing the grass. I'm not trying to make light of the pandemic and the health and people passing away and blah, blah, blah. Again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a healthcare worker. We're going to not talk about the health stuff. We're going to talk about the economic side of it. That's what we want to talk about. But my opinion is like, I see, I'm thinking like the movie I Am Legend, I'm thinking 3 foot tall grass, the world ending. I'm thinking state capitol buildings, state Congress, state buildings, government buildings. I'm thinking hospitals. I'm thinking, yes, homeowners, of course, and residential properties, but the strip malls. I mean, we've all seen what happens to a property, when it's dark, it's vacant, right, for a year. I've heard the argument, Mike, with vermin and pests and ticks and homeless people, right? Properties get broken into when they don't look like they're taken care of. I mean, we got certain parts of Detroit that kind of relate to that, right? And we've seen that. So what? And my attitude is, I wouldn't say we're like incredibly essential, but I would say like if you wanted to be like the next line of like crossing that out, like you got 20 different businesses, right? And we're like number 1 through 10 are essential. I feel like we would be like number 10 or number 11. You know what I mean? Like you know what I'm saying? Like I get it on one side of it. And the other side of it, I totally get that we're not essential. But for me being a small businessman wanting to work while still weighing it through the lens of trying to be cognizant of health, I would still like to see us be essential, because in the no, we're not saving lives or protecting lives. I get that. But the unsightliness, the health factors, the health benefits, I think running a lawn and landscape, let's talk about just maintenance. I mean, there's multifaceted there, but maintenance, I think, would still, in my opinion, I'd like to see it still qualify. Do people need a $50,000 outdoor backyard patio in the next 90 days? Maybe not. Maybe not. But if there's a sunken manhole cover and somebody can do concrete or landscaping and fix that, I don't know. I don't do that work, but that's kind of essential. If it's, somebody could lose their car down and destroy their car, so,
Oh, yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying, Mike? So if do you want to weigh in? I mean, you can totally vet pass. I don't want to put you on the record for it, but what do you think? Essential, not essential? What's your thought process?
Yeah, I'll say first by saying, the plug, give you a not needed plug for your YouTube channel. If anyone wants to see what it looks like to cut some real tall grass, I know there's a couple of videos. I think I've even been in one or two of them, and
right.
Some of them are, it's cutting literally the longest grass we can find. But as you were talking, what jumped out at me was that Sherwin-Williams account of yours. That the first time you got it, they kind of
they let it go.
Yeah, it slipped through the cracks, and we were like weeks into the season, and I think you kind of reached out because you drove by it enough times and were like, really, if no one's cut this,
Mm-hmm.
and you got curious and inquired, and here it is as a client. So I say
Right.
all that to say, I typically try and see both sides of everything.
Totally.
And be that as it may, I saw something on the internet yesterday that resonated with me, and it's for us. Yeah, I get it. Like, we're like right on the fence. My
Mm-hmm.
opinion is we're like literally right on the fence. And what pushed us over the fence of being non-essential is the timing of this.
Sure.
And guys in this industry,
It's a great point.
We're a little bit more in tune with what's going on. And I think we already touched on it a little bit, did not have really a gangbuster winter here, and it did fade pretty fast. We had a little bit of snow beginning of the month here in March, and there really hasn't been much.
Decent February, but bad January and December.
Yeah, January was okay. February was great, but it faded fast.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in turn, a majority of March has been above average. Yeah, we did get a coating of snow a couple days ago that melted about 3 hours later, but winter's having a hard time hanging on here. And so between that, some of our industry events like the Weingart Steak Fry or the MGIA show,
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the MGIA is a great organization. You and I both have enjoyed going to that, and some of their other offerings for a long time. It really got everyone in the mood. Like I touched on, we spent the last couple of weeks and really a little bit ahead of schedule normally, trying to get things set up, and we were really kind of looking at getting a jump start a week or two early from what we normally would, and getting going on the cleanups and some of the other things that we have scheduled.
It'd be the first time we got a spring in like 3 years. So
yeah. I mean, and we didn't. Part of why it's like, well, let's get into it now is we don't know. But we have another real rainy April like we did the past year or two, and things turn sour here. So if we've learned anything, especially when it comes to spring and fall cleanups, it's get while the getting is good, if you will. And so that was certainly the plan. So I believe we were on the fence, and what pushed us the way of being non-essential is we understand that we had the opportunity to get an early start. The general public doesn't get that. They're landscapers in March. It could still snow. Like they don't cut grass for another 6 to 8 weeks.
Right.
And I honestly think that really played into it versus like my buddy Blaine Dennison works in Louisiana, and he's still out there, and they are essential services. And you can go north of that, and other guys are too.
Tennessee, you know.
Exactly, and I think it has to go with the fact that they're several cuts into their season. They seem to already kind of be into the thick of spring growth, or right about there. And I think if this pandemic were to have happened a month later, things would have looked different. Well, it's always easy to call off an event before it started. It's a lot harder to shut anything down once things have gotten going. And
sure. That's a good point.
I think it was pretty well known that guys were really just getting going, and in a majority of the case, guys, even like yourself, Brian, were really just mere days away, but hadn't really gone and done any cleanups yet. And so it's if they called it off, if you will. So my attitude on it is I get both sides. I obviously I'm a business owner too. I like making money. I have before this we had months of work lined up. Some of those projects have already gotten put on hold indefinitely, and I don't know that they'll come even back on to the radar this year. So, when things break loose, we certainly have work to go do, but it's not the workload we were anticipating as of even a couple weeks ago. So, well, that's extremely frustrating to me and makes me wish that we were essential. I think that I get it. It is a little early, and then the last thing I guess I'll say on it is I know personally, and I can speak only best to my company. I'm in a very privileged spot to have the relationship that I have with my clients, and there's an epic level of transparency. I can honestly say that none of my clients even owe me money. This kind of came down, and I was very fortunate that a lot of checks have come in the past couple weeks, and I'm feeling very blessed by that. But I know that I'm in a rare situation here that basically sitting on no money owed to me, and it doesn't mean that I'm rich or wealthy by any means, but I know a lot of guys aren't in that spot. They're certainly much more hungry, and they may not have those near and dear relationships with well-developed clientele. And if guys are out there and they're working and they're desperate and they're hungry, there's no guarantee anybody's going to get paid for anything right now.
Sure.
Today was a good day on the stock market, but the last couple of weeks have been brutal. People have been laid off or put on unemployment, or they've been sent home and are working from home. But everyone's company that they're working for. They might have been in a good spot, and now they're not. Or things could have been rough circumstantially, and now people are fearing they're going to lose their job, and you don't know if that's the person you're doing a cleanup for or cutting their lawn. And so I guess my last spot on it is I am a little appreciative, because this is uncharted territory for so many people in general, including our industry, that unintentionally this does protect guys, and that the government should be protecting people left and right all the time.
Sure.
But it does protect people from putting themselves in an even worse position where they've spent their hard-earned money getting materials or paying for labor or buying gas or whatever it is to go do work that they may not get paid for. And
Sure.
There's a time to fold your cards and know when it's time to go home. And that may be a unique and kind of odd silver lining to this is hopefully when this passes in a couple weeks and we can get out there and restart, people are feeling better about their positions in life, and the honest working relationships that I think a lot of us have had and allowed us to continue in business will hopefully still be there. But if we joke about it, lots of the lawn guy gets paid last, and that joke may not feel like a joke to some people right now.
Sure. Well, I think what the biggest takeaway that I just got out of what you said amongst all that, and by the way, I appreciate you sharing, because you're pretty level-headed. You know, I get pretty extreme or pretty passionate, and you know, I'm always a listener. I'll hear anybody out. You know, but I'm always like, hey, I always tell Liz, I'm like, let me see what Bedell thinks. You know, because you're always like, well, I'm 49 here, 51 here, or, you know, or realistically, you're like 49.9 and 50.01. You know what I mean? And you're the most like just moderate. You're just moderate, and it's you're just a calm, steady voice. And I know you've got strong opinions on some things too. You know, to be honest. But
yeah, we all do. That's you got to, otherwise you're a robot, right?
Right. Right.
At the end of the day, I'm looking at this as a 3-week thing, and I think I was talking with you before we started, Brian, and I said, you know, I'm going to be doing this, God willing, for several more years, and 3 weeks over a period of years is but a blink of an eye.
Well, and when's the last time realistically we get 3 weeks off, right? And
I haven't taken 3 weeks off since I don't know,
14
a
years.
summer break in high school or something like that.
Sure.
It's seriously, I've struggled. You know, I'm admittedly a bit of a workaholic, and I'm very passionate about the things that I do. And
we just go.
Yeah, that's it. You know, I will try and slow down, and you know, it doesn't matter. Go sit on a beach, go sit by a pool, and I just get bored after a couple of days. I appreciate the opportunity to take a break, but I just need to get back out there and go. And that's honestly one of the other silver lines personally I'm trying to take away from this. Maybe this is the big guy upstairs putting his hand on my shoulder saying, slow down, kid.
Right. You know, and that's kind of my one of the takeaway tips that I was gonna derive from what you said, which was, hey, like, we haven't really lost anything. Like, you know, we haven't, okay, let's take worst case scenario. Well, worst case scenario, or a worser case scenario, is we lose all of our cleanups. Okay. You know, that's tough. That's $2,000 for some people. That's $10,000 for some people. That's $200,000 for other people. I get it. It's all relative. So, okay. So you lose out on $5,000 or $10,000. Most of us use that as seed money to start the season. I get it. But worst case scenario, you're behind on $5,000 or $7,000 extra grand, $10,000, $20,000 of extra revenue for your spring. You know, so it to me, I mean, Bedell, you and I joke about this all the time. Anything before April 15th, we always kind of consider extra credit, and anything after Thanksgiving, we always kind of consider extra credit up here in Michigan. You know, and
sure.
I mean, and this is just my opinion, but I know you shared some similar beliefs in this. And so, okay, so we lose out on our cleanups. I don't want to lose that $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, whatever. But at the same point, like, it's not going to make or break my business. It's not the lion's share of revenue. Would you agree? So we don't really
Absolutely.
have this. Do we want to make the revenue? Sure. But okay, at most, all invested in right now in my business are maybe some monthly payments on some things, which I don't. Thankfully, we're debt free besides the truck, and my parts order. So I've got a $750 parts order I picked up. Okay, no big deal. You know, like, I'm not super vested. And by the way, we put it on a business credit card because we get our points. But okay, so I still have 30, you know, whatever, 38 days probably to pay that off. You know, okay, it is what it is. So we're not like super vested in into the season just yet. Like you said, it's not like we did a $20,000 landscape install, or I've done $9,000 of mulch that at cost. That's going to turn into 25,000 or whatever. I'm just throwing out some numbers. Like we're not super screwed. You know what I mean? Like you said, we're not.
Oh yeah, and there might be other guys. That's where we're sitting pretty here in Michigan, and there might be other guys in other states who who are listening to this, going, "Huh, well, last week I just spent $10,000 of my own money on mulch and thought it was going to turn into multiples of that, and now I'm sweating bullets because I'm out $10,000 in mulch, another $5,000 in labor, and equipment rental or whatever, and I was counting on that 30, but
it's dried up.
Anyone even going to go in and run payroll at that company?
Dude, and that's what I'm saying. Like, now, of course, we're talking to a big Midwest audience up here too, but I know you guys listen from literally so far every state, which is crazy. I get to see the podcast stats. And by the way, thank you. Quick little plug for all of you guys who have been leaving ratings and reviews and the 5 stars. We really do appreciate that. But yeah, dude, that's the thing. Like, we're not super at a loss. And so I'm kind of wondering, the last thing I'll speak on this, and then we'll transition to maybe some helpful tips that guys can derive from this, because you and I we're spitballing a bunch, and we'll keep it timely. But I think the biggest thing is, I agree with you on the timing of all this. I think a month from now, when things green up and grass starts to grow, and maybe the weather picks up a little bit, and people are just seriously cabin fever. I think people might get fidgety and I don't say unruly. I was going to use that word. That's probably not the right word. But people are going to want to explore. They're going to want to go outdoors. They want to experience #Pure Michigan, right, Mike? And
oh yeah.
And so I hope by April 14th, I think is the federal restriction or the quarantine or whatever for the stay-at-home order for Michigan. I hope that it is lifted by then, in a really optimistic scenario. But that's also kind of parlays perfect timing into our season starting, Mike.
It really does, we had these intentions to go out and get an early start, but what if it had rained a lot the next 3 weeks? We really wouldn't be sitting any differently, so you just got to try and, as you said earlier, make a glass full, half full, or make it all the way full situation, and try and make this relatable in a different way sometimes. It just is what it is.
Yep. I like it. Well, let's do this. I'm going to take a sip of water here, clear my throat, and I've got some other things I want to ask your opinion on, because we're talking about some financial tips with maybe how to keep some more cash on hand, how to defer some payments, which are we were just sharing stories. We weren't comparing notes, and when we did, we're like, oh my god, we almost came up with some of the same conclusions. And so let's do this. Let's hear again from one of our show sponsors, which is Ballard Inc., and then we'll jump right back into things.
Are you looking to be more efficient, effective, safe, and profitable out in the field? Ballard Products has a full line of innovative products to help you in your everyday operations. From mower gear, trailer gear, backpack sprayers, equipment racks and storage, safety gear and equipment servicing products, and much, much more. We're sure you'll find something you can't live without. With over 30 years in the lawn care industry and 20 years selling great products, we're confident these products will meet the use and abuse of the everyday lawn pro. Jump on ballard-inc.com to check out the full line of gear, and be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as well. Keep grinding and be safe out there, friends.
All right, cool deal. Well, hey, again, thanks to Ballard Inc. for sponsoring this episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. And thank you to all of you guys, sincerely, that use the Brian's 10 code to save 10%. We do get a kickback. It does help. It literally goes right back into funding the channel, funding the podcast, everything in between. So we really do appreciate that. One other thing I was going to mention, we just announced this. We're going to be doing we're going to be giving away 3 $50 gift cards to people who leave ratings and reviews on the podcast. So we just dropped a YouTube video on this the other day. You'll see an Instagram post by the time this comes out as well, announcing that. And what we're doing is 3 different people who leave ratings and reviews on this podcast. I'm not trying to bribe you guys for 5 stars, but I want to incentivize you guys to at least engage and leave a rating and review. It really does help the podcast get surfaced and get shown off to a larger audience, which we super appreciate that. We had a couple come in. One is Mitchell Fundenberg. Brian is such a great person and tries to help others. Need more people like you. Lots of experience too. Hey, thanks, Mitchell. We really appreciate that. What else we got? A lot of different people are weighing in saying that they loved episode 18 and 19, Mike. I don't know. Did you get a chance to listen to those yet, or have you just been watching the world burn? So
No, I've been watching the world burn. I'm not going to lie. I caught a few of them as I had some driving to do last week before they shut everything down, and I was actually kind of anticipating throwing the ISO tunes in and getting caught up on yours and Paul Jameson and Julio, exactly. Our group of friends and seeing what's going on. But
it's been crazy couple days.
Every one of your episodes that I've listened to, I've really enjoyed. There's always like a good different message, and it's not like the same thing over and over again like you get on some podcasts where they kind of after you listen to a couple episodes, you're like, wow, okay, yeah, I get it. That's what this is going to be all about.
Sure.
It's been nice. They're all different, and
thanks, man.
So I'm eager to, if other people are hyping up some episodes, it sounds like I have some listening.
Well, I let it rip from the frame on 18 and 19, and I think they're going to be some classics on the podcast. So I appreciate the feedback, man. Yeah, we're just having fun, man. I'm trying to keep it authentic and real for you guys. I got another one. This is my first year doing business, and I've already learned so much from your YouTube videos and this podcast. Thanks. That's from Mike Heffron and A Cut Above Hutsville. Episode 19 is exactly where I'm at in my lawn care business, man. I'm in the process of needing a smaller mower for backyards. Thanks for the content. So I just wanted to highlight those really quick. Something I'm going to try to do on some future episodes is just say thank you to you guys that are leaving 5 stars reviews. So here's the deal. If you want to get in on those $50 gift cards, go to the YouTube video, go to the Instagram post, and all you got to do is say, hey, I left a review on the podcast with this name, and that way I can correlate it back to your handle on Instagram or YouTube. And then in the next 4 or 5 days, we're going to be picking 3 different winners from those 2 different YouTube video and then also the Instagram post. And then I'll reach out to you guys on Instagram or YouTube, and we'll get you hooked up with those gift cards. So any which way, let's go back to the show. Little segue there, Mike. But so let's talk about financials. We got about another 20-25 minutes we'll do here on the podcast. Let's talk about helpful tips, like really practical tips, because like you said, Mike, just a second ago, I hate it when people talk in hyperboles and quips and analogies, but then there's no like meat or substance to it. I'm like, great, that was great, rah. Now what do I actually do? So let's talk about financials. There's a bunch of different ways we can do this, but I think number one, we're trying to you said your burn rate. You said, hey, Bedell Management, property management costs money to run, right? And you did the math behind the scenes, and you said, well, hey, based on this many months or this many years, whatever it is, this is how much cash we have on hand. This is how much our overhead expenses are, and that those lines are eventually going to cross, and we're at zero. Hopefully not. I mean, by the way, Brian's on maintenance. We're in the same boat too, right? Now the idea is to always have income coming in from multiple different sources or investments and all this other mess. Whole nother podcast for a whole nother time. Cause Bedell subscribes to that too. I know he's diversified in income and investments. But let's talk about that, Mike. What is your burn through rate? What is, how should some guys be looking at their business and their financials? Let's just start really quick there, and we'll start there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when you get into any type of crisis situation, you'll quickly find that cash is king. And it's not necessarily physical cash even that you've like hidden under a mattress somewhere, even though that it doesn't hurt in a time like this. But it's literally liquidity in your business. So amount you have in your checking account, business checking account, business savings account, on deposited funds. You probably shouldn't be sitting on any of those, and you want to move towards liquidity here, where, like I said, cash is king, and then being prudent with how you part with that cash.
Right.
the things, and you got to change your plans. Like a great example is one of our trailers was scheduled to go up to Kelly and Sons, which is our trailer supplier here that supplies myself, and Brian, and then some of our other friends in the area. It's time for them to just do an annual maintenance. That was really almost more of a biannual for the amount that trailer gets used. But,
sure.
do a little spring maintenance tune-up, and almost more of like a little peace of mind. Just make sure everything was good to go on it. And that's one of the discretionary things that I had to pull off the schedule temporarily, and probably get done a couple months from now. But the trailer's not broken, so that's not going to happen right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that we hang on to our cash. And so the plan is, you've got to look at all your planned expenses, and that was a planned expense, but it wasn't a necessary expense. And so if we're not going to have any income coming in for the next couple weeks with Bedell Property Management, now's not the best time to spend any money on something that we don't absolutely need to spend money on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pumping the brakes on any last-minute supplies we need for the spring, because we just don't really know. We hope this is only a couple weeks. I really do genuinely believe that's the direction this will all go, but I don't control any of that, and neither do you, Brian. We're all along for the ride.
We hope it's April 14th. You know what I mean? It could be It could be June or July 14th. You know what I mean?
It could, and we really wouldn't have much else to do but comply with that order if that was really the drastic direction things took. So it's looking at and do you have any planned expenses that you can either cancel, get out of, or at a minimum just. Like the trailer maintenance, we'll get it done, but it might be a couple months from now when money's flowing back into the business, and it's not even a thought or a care to get that done at that point. And then the second thing you got to do is now look at your overhead expenses that aren't like a planned want expense or a peace of mind expense, but obviously your insurances, or if your business carries some debt, any of your debt service payments towards that.
Let's talk about that.
Those are all. Go ahead.
Well, I want to really press in with that because so you're talking about keeping cash on hand. What's your opinion right now about using lines of credit or business credit cards with extending 30 days out? Like let's say you're going to go get your trailer service, right, for $250 at Sue's, right? We all got to do that, but right now you could pay cash, but at the same point, is it advisable or wise to maybe you've never used business credit cards, or you're like, man, cash is king. I always pay cash. I don't want no debt. Hey, I get it. That's cool. But I just put a $700 parts order on my credit card just in case. Can I pay it off? Yep. Do I want my points? Different point. But you know what? Would you evaluate getting that service done on a business line of credit or a credit card, or no?
It totally depends on the situation. If
severity or the urgency.
Yeah, that's it. I was going to say, if it's me, like I already expressed, this was more of a peace of mind. I truly believe that if the essential services order got changed and for some reason we got to go to work tomorrow, the trailer's far from being in disrepair. I really don't think it'd break going down the road, and I'd go as far as to say probably could just make it through the entire year. But
right.
If you get to know me, I'm pretty meticulous about equipment maintenance, and this is really just part of that. And so if it's peace of mind type expending, me personally, no, I wouldn't put that on a credit card or a line of credit. Particularly line of credits, in my view, the only time it makes sense to use one of those is if you're acquiring an asset that is going to pay for that line of credit and cash flow for you also. There might be a few other minute exceptions to that, but generally speaking, I wouldn't use a line of credit or really even a credit card for wants right now. You could use it as a final, I don't want to say get out of jail card, but I'd say final straw or final last option for if you have business payments that you need to make for business continuity.
Mm-hmm.
That may be a decision that you need to make. If you have a payment that needs to be made, then you can put it onto a line of credit or a credit card, and then you're really back up against the wall, then that might be what you want to do. But I unfortunately have seen enough people bury themselves in credit card debt or lines of credit with businesses. It's Murphy's Law, unfortunately. Things get bad, and then you try and duck it and do something different, and things just go from bad to worse. And I think you and I even have a couple similar acquaintances who've unfortunately not survived when things got tough in their business, and it had to do with kind of they didn't realize it, but they buried themselves a little bit. So I would say, for me personally, I don't know that I would do it, but I'm not here to judge or tell others what to necessarily do. So in turn, I'd say it all goes to the individual's financial education. And I think that if you're a financially educated person like you are, Brian, and that makes sense for what your specific plans are and how you're tackling this. I don't see that being a big issue for you specifically, or other people that have plans and options and are well thought out. But for me, if it were me, and I could speak to something that I did today,
Mm-hmm.
is I took the opportunity just to reach out to my insurance agent who handles Bedell Property Management policies. And I just sent over an email and said, hey, so the governor shut us down for 3 weeks, and it looks like we'll have no income for a period of time here.
Mm-hmm.
What provisions are available to me? And I actually got a very timely response from him that said that basically my carrier, no questions asked, and I was just asking what the options were, and they replied, well, we're just going to go ahead and defer your payment for the next 2 months.
Wow.
So
Heck yeah.
And there's a great option. It doesn't cost me anything extra. That's obviously a courtesy that they're offering to their clients. So before I go and move things over into actual debt or utilize different credit opportunities, I would take this as an opportunity to grow the relationships that each of us have with our local bank and your insurance carrier and any of your suppliers that you use, and
Mm-hmm.
just have a very transparent and honest conversation with those individuals. And if you've done a good job of building those relationships, now is the time where those relationships will pay major dividends for you, and you'll get those type of opportunities. And in turn, what you're really seeing in that case is the people that you've surrounded yourself with would like to see you survive, because they enjoy doing business with you, and they want to see you continue to be there, because they know it's a tough time, but they know that it's not your fault, and if we all work together, we'll make it through.
Sure.
Those are my thoughts on that. Where if you're financially educated enough, you've some more options at your disposal, but regardless of how financially educated you are or aren't, or what you feel your business acumen level is, if you're in business for yourself, you're probably okay at having conversations. And, in turn, if you maybe feel you haven't developed those relationships, this could be a great time to start developing that and maybe stand out from the herd a little bit and have some real transparent, honest conversations and maybe gain the attention of your local banker or your insurance carrier or some suppliers and have them see you in a new light, or maybe as a person who they know a little bit better now and see you with honesty and integrity. And that'll, even if it maybe doesn't open up the world in this moment, if you're going to be in this business for a while, it could be a very good opportunity for you long term. As you and I have said this before, Brian, Wayne Gretzky says 100% of the shots you don't take don't go in.
This is true.
And
yep.
This is a great example of that. If you don't have the conversation, your bills are due when they're due, and whether you have the money or not, this is a great example of just having some conversations, or just checking in and seeing what's out there. And I was certainly pleasantly surprised that.
Well, you were unexpectedly surprised. You said.
Yeah,
you're like, wow,
yeah.
that's even something that you'd be willing to do, And,
yeah, sure. Well, and that's it. Cash is king, Brian. Whether I've got the money to make the payment or not, if I can get away with not parting with money here while my business isn't making any money for the next 3 weeks,
that's my
will certainly
point.
help me sleep at night.
Well, so just really simply just regroup on this one. So let's say you're on your couch, you're in your sweatpants, you don't know what to do. You're like, man, my business is costing me. I got a $300 mower, I've got a $200 trailer payment, a $500 truck payment, and maybe you got 2 guys that work for you and they're on payroll. Okay, so maybe they're getting laid off, or put them on unemployment. Talk to your bookkeeper. Talk to your payroll. Talk to your CPA. There is going to be financial. Help me out here, Mike. Stimulus, and there's going to be incentives.
Yeah, there's unemployment opportunities and financial assistance opportunities that have never really been available, at least in recent history, to employees. I can speak to the state of Michigan. If you or I were to lay off staff and put them on unemployment for a couple of weeks, they can get on, no questions asked, and then beyond that, it doesn't actually get charged to our individual accounts like it normally would if we parted ways with an employee. This is I don't want to use the term free money of sorts, but it's the taxpayers will end up paying for it in the long run. But typically, it's not the taxpayers who flip the bill; it's the business owners flip the bill by what they've been paying into on a more or less quarterly basis.
Yep.
So that's
fair game.
There are incentives available. And you touched on it. There's also some likelihood that at the federal level there may be some additional checks, and those, as of now, appear to be possibly coming to everyone in proportion to how your taxes were filed over the past year or two. So, and in turn, I actually, they seem to, who knows what the latest version of all that is, but one of the ones that I saw, I actually kind of shrugged and said, well, I don't disagree with that, because it seemed to kind of be on a bell curve, and who knows, they probably changed this. This isn't what's happening, but the one version I saw, it seemed like actually the people that maybe needed the help the most were going to get it, and people that should have maybe put themselves in a good situation because they've been making good money for at least the past couple of years, or people that didn't really file taxes weren't going to get any. The people that need the help are going to get it. So that's always a good thing to see in these times, is that people will get the assistance that they actually need. And there's no shame in asking for any of that.
Not at all. Not at all.
Now is not a time to be a proud person.
Right.
I've done this for 15 years, and I've never talked to an insurance agent about having to skip payments. And knock on wood, I understand that there's a level of luck to that, and a level of just I guess prudent business practices that have led to that, but that doesn't mean that I'm above having that conversation.
No, not at all. And honestly, I was going to share a quick personal story. Same thing. My local credit union, same thing. I have a truck that has a loan on it, and it's like $560 a month I pay for the truck.
Sure.
And I said, I told Liz, I said, our payments due. We can make the payment. It's no big deal. Like we're sitting pretty. I'm very thankful, very blessed, like you said, Mike. Very in a privileged situation. I don't know if I would use that word for my finances. I think privilege might be like $1 million plus. I think I'm underprivileged.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, then I'm underprivileged as well.
You know what I mean?
Compared to some of the conversations I've had,
sure.
The past couple of days with contractors all over the country, I hang up the phone feeling very blessed.
No, I agree, and I'm not making light of it either, because you and I we talk pretty transparently about these things, and to go full circle. So but I told Liz and I said, well, $600 monthly payment or $560. I said, it wouldn't hurt to have another $1,100 to $1,200 in the business checking account, right?
Sure.
And I said the same thing you did about calling your insurance agent. I said, hey, what? I called, got a full hold to a lady, and you could tell she was working remote because the dog was barking in the background. And I go, and she goes, yeah, it's been pandemonium here. I go, I could imagine. And I just said the same thing. I said, hey, I'm not asking to do it, but I'm just inquiring what are my options. I know with my loan, I get an annual skip-a payment. Is that available to me? Is that something that, whatever. And she goes, 100%. She goes, right now we're offering 2 months, skip-a payments. So you wouldn't have to pay your March 20th or 23rd bill or 25th bill, and then your April 25th. So she goes, you won't owe till May 25th. And I went, I go, wow. I said, I was only asking for the one. And I mean, honestly, I was just expecting to make my payment online that afternoon. Cause it's like the 23rd today. And so right off the bat, she gave me two months, and they're extending 2 months to pretty much everybody there. And I said, wow, isn't that interesting? Like, again, to go full circle, I don't really have that much vested into my spring startup costs just yet, where I have a parts order. Okay. So my truck payment's handled. And again, just to go full circle, have these with what Bedell said about your banker, your insurance agent, your CPA. My CPA, Mike, the minute that Trump did his not State of the Union, but his public address on Thursday or Friday, we had an email, I think Saturday 8 p.m. or Sunday 8 p.m. that came from my CPA, and he just said, hey, we saw what you guys saw. We're going to pay attention to the stimulus package, the federal funds, the federal aid, so on and so forth. We'll keep you posted with having one-on-one conversations in the next week about what you could possibly qualify, what we can't qualify for. You know what I mean? Just little things like that. And by the way, like let's say you owe on your mowers. You know what I mean? For this is just keep it super practical stuff. Call up Synchrony Bank and say, hey, Synchrony, I got those 2 Exmark Laser Zs. I got the 2 Right Standard ZKs, the 2 Skag V-Ride 2s. I still got 17 on my 21 grand note, and your payment's $665 a month. Okay, no big deal. I will give a pretty strong nod that I bet you that you could at least get a deferred payment, a skip-a payment, or 2. You know what I mean, Mike? And I think that's huge. So we're not trying to say like you don't owe on your debts. I'm not saying you need to skip a payment, because you're still going to pay interest on that 30-day window. So just keep that in mind. But again, if I can keep $500, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000. I mean, some people listen to some of you guys, $25,000 more cash on hand. And that buys me another 30, 60, 90 days. Then these are just some practical tips. These are things that we've never really shared about on a podcast. Like I would never tell you, skip a payment, But if you're
Me
like,
neither.
I mean, when's the last time you've ever heard you and me say stuff like this? And so one other one I was going to say was with skipping payments. I'm trying to think. I just lost my train of thought.
I got one. While you think,
Yeah, go ahead.
It just was announced that it looks like the United States federal tax filings are nudged back a couple months.
That's what it was. Yes.
So there you go. We're thinking
July
the
15th.
same thing. And so in turn, I know a lot of people in this industry. We end up owing a little bit of money.
Yeah, that was mine.
And so there you go. So there's another essentially probably interest-free loan. And don't quote me on that. That's all kind of in the weeds.
New territory for us.
But if that's truly the case. There's money that you don't have to outlay right now, and if they kept the due date, the April 15th due date would be right about the day we're going back to work, hopefully in Michigan.
Right.
So it's all about the lenders get it. It sounds like the government's getting it. Nobody wants to bury anyone here, and in turn, they know that down the road. If they bury you now and things just get worse and it led to any type of court case, it may not actually go very favorably for any type of lender or institution that wasn't forgiving and generous during this period of time.
Because they'll get theirs. We know it.
And let's be real, a lot of them have. If you follow any of that stuff, the market's been very good the past couple of years, and a lot of lending type institutions have truly seen record profits. And so, like I was touching on with the stimulus package, if that goes the way it probably ought to, those are the people that probably shouldn't see too much stimulus because they, in theory, should have been squirreling away a little bit for a rainy day versus, let's just be honest and transparent. In most civilized countries, there's always going to be a group of people that are living paycheck to paycheck or don't even have enough money to live paycheck to paycheck. And,
right.
Those are the people that I know right now my heart's going out to.
100%.
Yeah, I think I said the other day when we were talking on Instagram on direct message think of where you and I were just a few years ago, Brian, and if that had happened, this life event happened at that moment in time, and we were sitting in a different financial position. The life would be very different for us right now, and,
totally,
and maybe
dude.
I'd be feeling a little less blessed.
Totally.
So,
well, if you guys, well, I was going to say, if you guys haven't listened to episode 18, just a few before this, we talked a ton about some practical tips about during this unprecedented event, talking about diversifying your income, your investments, being lean. I mean, dude, I ranted for about a half hour on that, Mike, and I feel it was some pretty good meat because. Just to echo what you just said, maybe we've all been doing so well to stockpile the good year for the 6 years of famine or the 7 years of famine, right? And as an analogy, that's an old one, but and that's why we've all been so blessed the last few years. Is maybe this was just God's plan, not the death part. That's not His plan for anything, but anyway, so it's all something that we got to keep in context. Again, Bedell, here's how I look at it. This is the extreme, Brian. Again, $560 for my truck payment, or I could do a skip a payment, and $560 is what I paid for 1,000 rounds of 5.56. You know what I'm saying? So, so I don't want to get the tinfoil hat out, but let's just say your boy's been shopping. You know what I'm saying? So,
hey, but at the end of the day, those that's what I mean. Cash is king. Cash will let you, or liquidity in any type of business decision, especially in unprecedented times or in any type of crisis. that
Right.
any business, and we're lucky here in Michigan. We get the occasional snowstorm or bad thunderstorm with a tornado in it or something, but we don't have earthquakes, we don't have hurricanes, we don't have tsunamis or any really major flooding or anything like that. We're lucky. We get to live pretty safe most of the time, but there are other businesses, maybe people that have listened to this podcast, where they've experienced a crisis in their business, or people that had landscape businesses, and Hurricane Katrina comes along, or something like that. And so there are definitely people that have seen something sort of like this before, and understand that when you get into a rare situation like this, the people that tend to make it out the other side are the people that had options, and a lot of time those options come from liquidity, and that's going to be available cash to you, and the most liquid is what you literally got in the bank or cash on hand. And in turn, the reason a lot of those people survive is because they get very frugal or very intelligent with how they spend that cash. And what did you say to me the other day, Brian? Something about like a fool is quick to lose his money.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think you said it more eloquently than that.
Yeah, money and his fool are soon quickly parted. A lot of people are becoming stock market millionaires, right? Or they're making 20-25% gains day by day, and whole nother podcast for a whole other time. I'm not an investor. I'm a businessman, and
now's not the time to play the casino of life.
Yeah, no, I got a lot of friends. Oh, I'm up 20% in a day or 2 days, and God bless, good for them. But again, whole nother stock or podcast for another time. I heard an old goodie, and it's what's the worst thing that can happen when you go to Vegas and gamble? You win. And that's the first thing. And a lot of people right now, they're winning. And I'm like, man, I'm up 20%. I'm like, good for you, man. Just remember Warren Buffett's number one rule: don't lose money. And if you can't guarantee number one, don't play the game. And but again, what do I know? Let me ask you this, Mike. Or do you one other thing you wanted to add there, or?
No, I was just gonna say, Brian knows me. I like to relate things to sports, and I grew up playing a lot of hockey, and even when you get teams on the power play, they take the puck behind their net and they set up, and sometimes leave them sit there for 10 seconds and let even both teams do a full sail line change.
Yep.
And maybe even do a fake breakout and then double back and do a real breakout. And they killed 25 seconds on the clock, but now they got things exactly where they wanted it, and they can execute. And that applies to our situation right now. Now is not the time to try and make the quick play, maybe while guys are making the line change, and send somebody in on a breakaway and run up the score here. Now's maybe time to set up behind your net, if you will, and sit down and know your numbers, crunch your numbers, and that's a never-ending thing. I spent 3 hours on it this morning, and I admittedly wasn't very fun trying to figure out the best way to be responsible with our cash on hand, and kind of going through a few different gloomy scenarios and best case scenarios, and I'll say this: it's stuff I hope I never have to do again in my business. And
right.
I hope nobody has to do. I hope we all just have nothing but the best of times. But in turn, there were other things I wanted to do, other things that would have been a lot funner to do. But I spent the time, and I kind of feel like I set up behind my net right now, and I know what my plan is for. I know my plan is to go for the next 3 weeks, and I know my plan is that this lasts for months. And and I hope it doesn't, but
sure.
I'll say this: I didn't sleep so good last night, knowing that the plan that I had wasn't going to pan out, because the plan that I had for this year had us going to work this week.
Right. Sure. I'm all engines forward, Mike. I'm just like throwing the thrusters on, like burning up the tires. And I'm just like, I got this hook right now in the back of the car. And I'm just waiting for a guy to like swing the axe and watch me go at 200 miles an hour. You know what I mean? And so
Sure.
I'm very, very optimistic. I hope you guys are as well. Who knows, man? Again, unprecedented times. One other thing I wanted to add was there's a book out there from Jim Collins called Good to Great. And I will spare you having to read it if you haven't. But the cliff notes of the book is for all the companies that have grown, and the larger companies, the ones that weathered the storm in 07, 08, 09, they didn't get fancy. They didn't necessarily reinvent themselves. They didn't really do new things. A lot of people think that's what you have to do. What they did is they stayed the course. They stayed the same. They didn't get fancy, actually. They stayed to the basics, the blocking and tackling. And those are the companies that actually grew the most. And so, yes, you need to skate to where the puck is going to go. Another Wayne Gretzkyism, right?
Yeah.
But at the same point, like Bedell just said, like, don't get smart, don't get cute, like, don't be fancy right now. Just it's the blocking and tackling, and we could have talked about marketing and optics, and I'm not marketing right now. We've pumped the brakes on that. I'm not going to be passing out flyers when everybody's afraid of an infectious, contagious disease or virus or whatever this thing is. Might not be the best time. I'm all about passing out marketing when your competitors are pulling out, right, Mike?
Yes.
But this is maybe optics wise not the best time, because what point of grabbing market share is there for a lawn and landscape company when we can't work? Now, if you are in an essential business in your state and you want to flood with marketing, hey, go ahead and rock and roll with that. For me personally, my only piece of advice is just be cognizant. Just have good optics. Don't be hand billing maybe at this time, or go and putting flyers or door hangers on there. You know what I mean, Mike? Like
absolutely. If you're the local pizza shop, and now's an opportunity for you to feed your community, and you can offer a contact-free delivery service. That's great. Now's the best time for you to connect with your community and be a good steward and help people out. But unfortunately, our industry won't be received with the same optics. And
sure.
I've even seen some things where in the past couple days, companies have kind of been publicly shamed on the internet for having guys out flyering or having trucks out. And there are people that are certainly taking what's going on, with the utmost seriousness. And those people are in turn truly offended by seeing people out or doing those type of things. And the unfortunate part of that is now when those individuals see your company, that's what they're going to think of. And all the days, weeks, months, years of blood, sweat, and tears you put into the business, and all the million good things you've done,
right.
What that person will ever even see. They'll always see you as someone who was disrespectful to the entire society in a time of need. And everyone is entitled to their own opinion. It doesn't mean it's right, but at the end of the day, we as business owners need to realize that we only exist because of the positive opinions of others. And you hit the nail on the head, Brian. If you're doing any type of marketing now, it's got to be like real strategic. Otherwise, it's just not the right time. It's like trying to sell goods at a funeral, if you will. Just not the right time to do it.
Right. Well, and last thought, that way, I really wanted, this is like a 10-minute idea, but maybe if you want for a minute or two, Mike, talk about maybe this is also a time to pull back on services. Might be a time where maybe you won't be doing that leaf cleanup. Maybe you'll be turning over mulch and just doing a top dress versus a 2-inch fresh installation, right? Like if this sounds really, really bad because this is not what we are, but imagine if you're like a parasite on a host. Well, a parasite doesn't want to kill the host because they both die, right? And we're not parasites. This is an awful analogy, but it's the only one I got. But let's say you got a commercial strip mall and you're just hosing it down financially, and there's that strip mall that I have. How many people are buying paint? I don't know right now. Well, actually, a lot of people. Everybody's doing their honey-do list right now, Mike. I was at Home Depot. They've sold out of paint. I'm like, what about?
Yeah, I believe it.
Dude, they sold out of
paper, right?
So maybe it is time to do the mulch over there, Mike. I don't know. So I'm making this up as I go. This is unfiltered. But how many people are eating out? I don't know. How many people are going in person to buy an AT&T phone? That's the 3 businesses in that strip mall. So they might be crushing it. They might be breaking even, and the tenants are breaking even. So, there might be a time to do a mulch install. There might be a time to be like, you know what? Hey, let's just hold off right now, or maybe we'll do it in summer. Can you speak to that for just a quick minute, Mike? Does that sound fair? Does that make some sense? Horrible analogy, but does this trying to make some sense where we're not trying to bleed people out right now? Because if they go under, we go under.
Yeah, no, you said it best. If they go under, we go under. And all analogies aside, you're spot on, Brian. That's what allowed us to exist and have businesses when we started, over a decade ago, and our businesses were just young, a couple years old, and then Southeast Michigan took arguably some of the worst of the last recession that we had.
Yeah.
And in turn, what allowed my company to continue on and exist and have opportunities and even arguably some growth during tough times was the fact that I instead of trying to sell all my wares and pile on and upsell to all my clients, I took the approach of how can we work together?
Right.
What is it that can you afford? And it's interesting when you come from that perspective, people really open up about their budget and what they have and what they don't have. And in turn, it goes from possibly one side trying to game the other to 2 businesses trying to work together to benefit each other
long term.
Make it a win-win situation. And that's why I'm still working with the majority of the people today that I was working with 10 years ago, and when times were a lot tougher. Even though we may have quickly cycled right back to those tough times here, I think what will allow me to continue those relationships is we've done very well the past several years providing any and all services for those people. But in times like these, that's not necessarily a requirement.
Right.
And we will work with them, and in turn, we're both going to win. And a few years from now, or a few months, or whatever it is, when things are better and everyone's more willing to spend, things will go back to the way they were. But I would encourage people in closing here to that we talked about having that line of communication with vendors and suppliers, but ultimately this is maybe the time to have some individual conversations with each of your clients and just try and come at it almost maybe a little bit more like a friend or a family member would, and see how you can work together to make this negative situation a positive, and in turn, you may just have yourself a client for life, and those are the people that'll refer you more business than you could ever dream of handling when the economy turns around.
Amen. Which we both will bank on, and hopefully end on a positive note, saying, "And this too shall pass." Because
it always does. I said to our buddy Nick Kimball down in Ohio when he was picking my brain about this. And granted, this was a couple weeks ago when things seemed a little brighter. I said, yeah, at the end of the day, Nick, the sun always comes up tomorrow, and if it doesn't, we've got a lot bigger problems. But
Exactly.
but in totality, the sun always comes up tomorrow, and
This too
we
shall
all
pass.
have bad. Yeah, we all have bad days, weeks, months. But I'm in my 30-some years of life experience here, I can honestly say that with the worst of times, later comes the best of times.
Sure.
And
Sure.
like Red Green, the Canadian comedian, would say, "Keep your stick on the ice. We're all pulling for you."
There you go, man. There you go. Well, by the way, since while you were talking, I think the word is symbiotic, not parasitic.
Yeah, there you go. Symbiotic relationship.
Which is awesome. That's what I meant to use earlier. Well, and that goes right back to full circle to your insurance agent. What do you like his next month's premium? Sure. What do you like your premiums for the next 5, 10, 25 years? Sure. And if he gets his like next month's premiums and you go out of business, well, he's out of business or has a lot less of an income and lifestyle as well. So it is symbiotic. That's what this whole free enterprise system is all about, in my opinion. So
absolutely.
Well, cool, man. Well, this is good. This is a good hour and a half of just meat. Hopefully, what we're talking about here gives you guys some hope, some encouragement, just some practical tips too. We're all learning. We don't pretend to have it all figured out. Not on this topic, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. No one does. And if there's one last little tidbit I'll chime in with is you're going to see all sorts of bits of advice from the people in the industry, bigger companies, trade associations. We touched on that earlier a little bit.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, you just always got to go up the food chain in tough situations. And it's what does the big boss say? And in this case, the big boss is the government. And that's where Brian and I are taking our mode of action and how we're handling our unique situations. There's certainly other people who it's 2020. We all think we're real important and everyone's essential to everything. That's the participation trophy side of life. But at the end of the day, the state attorney general here in Michigan's already said that she'll gun for your business license if you go out and work and aren't supposed to. And
right.
So you'd have to be pretty desperate and needing to literally put food on the table for your family, I think, to take a couple days of work now, but maybe put yourself out in the long run.
Well, and I'll agree to that. I mean, right now is not a time to be smart. It's not a time to be cute. And try to, there's the aggressive, passionate side of Brian, and then there's the I got to pump the brakes, Brian, right? And just take a deep breath. And if you guys are chomping at the bit, I feel you. Mike and I, we're chomping at the bit as well. I'm thinking every week I'm missing out on XYZ dollars, and I want to get while the getting's good, just like you guys do. But number one, we're talking business. We're talking making money. You will always be able to make more money. The other side of me says, hey, try to be cognizant. Try to be respectful of other people's health. If you feel like you're bulletproof, like I do, hey, awesome. No big deal. But I'm also cognizant that I don't want to be that guy doing things that make other people mad or exposing other people to other things. And again, I'm pretty conservative. I'm pretty. I don't subscribe to the, we all need to just be locked down for 2 months. I'm not that guy. I want to be out there just like you guys. And I don't mind going to the grocery store. I'm not wearing gloves. I'm not freaking out. But I don't live in this world by myself, so I'm trying to work with my neighbor, work with my community, work with my county, work with my state, and just be respectful, And so you can always make money, right, Mike? You can always make money.
If there's anything that you take away from learning wise from some of the books that you've recommended on social media, I think a big overarching theme of a lot of those books is that once you start understanding what success is, you realize that money is infinite and time is not.
Right. Exactly. 100%. Well, any last thing you want to wrap up with, dude? You and I had like 3 or 4 other things I know we wanted to talk about, but I think the conversation was really healthy and very timely. Any final thoughts? This is your debut podcast, man. I will say this: you and I have 2 way more fun, well, this was fun, but way more fun, way more upbeat episodes coming in. Number 1 is going to be your whole story and your business story, which is really cool. And then we did another hour and a half, 2 hours talking about YouTube and how you and I got to meet. And they're both really, really good. They're coming out in April. Little 1-2 punch. I said not only my first guest, but my first returning guest, right? And so, I guess I guess that was an omen because now you're a 3-peat, you know. So hat trick, right, Mike? So
hey, there we go. Put the puck in the net.
My hockey people here. So Mike's a big hockey guy, and so am I. So any final thoughts you want to leave the audience while we got you?
Yeah, last thought is that I just hope nothing but the best for all of you guys. You know, you touched on it, Brian. There are people who are sick. There are people who are dying. There are people who have family members that are on the front lines. There are people that are impacted by this in ways we can't even imagine. So the big thing I just like to say is I'm with all you guys. I'm thinking of all of you. That my heart goes out to you. I'm praying for all of you. And, feel free to stay in touch with Brian and I. It's uncharted territory. We're by no means experts. I don't think anyone is in this area, and if they claim to be, I'll tell you they're lying. But feel free. I've got my company here, the Debt Free Landscaper, and where can people find you? My bad. Go ahead. Go ahead. DebtFreeLandscaper.com, on Instagram at Debt Free Landscaper. And that whole community was set up for times like these. I'm not a prophetic individual per se, but I've realized early on in my business that doing things in a prudent fashion would pay dividends in the long run. And this is, for better or worse, a great example of why I've made it important to me and felt called upon to share that philosophy with others in my community. So, the big thing is I just care about all you guys. Hope everyone's doing well. Wish nothing but the best for all of you guys. We will get through this. Better days are ahead. And if you guys need anything, just reach out. We're going to get through this.
Amen. And at Bedell MGMT for your business Instagram, and Debt Free Landscaper for your contracts and all your budgets and different other services that you offer, which is one of your new companies helping the lawn care community, which super well received. We talked about all that on a whole nother podcast, which will come up. So Mike, highly respected and just a great business mindset. Always appreciate conversations with you in general, but especially when we get to record them and share them with the other thousands and thousands of people that download the podcast regularly. So appreciate you jumping on the podcast, man. It's really good. And like you said, we will pull through. So no worries there.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure, Brian, and I'm always happy to take the time and connect with you and your entire community.
Cool. All right, brother. Well, thank you. All right, guys. Well, hey, if you guys enjoyed the podcast, we really appreciate if you guys want to take a quick minute and look down, hit 5 stars on the ratings, and maybe leave us a couple sentence review. By the way, for real, we're doing a giveaway. So if you want to get in on 3 $50 gift cards, I'll let you pick if you're one of the winners to either Amazon or Home Depot. And all you got to do is leave a rating. If you want to leave 5 stars, of course, I'm not trying to buy a 5-star. I'm just saying leave a review if you haven't left one, because it really, really helps the podcast more than you guys know if you really get into all this stuff. And Mike knows that, like, metrics and algorithms, they run the show now, not actual real impressions, which is ridiculous. So if you guys want to help us, not necessarily game the system, but just participate in the system so we can get surfaced and get this podcast out to other lawn bros. By the way, if it's helping you guys, share it with another lawn guy. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are confused or scared or fearful, kind of like we might might be right now during these times, share the podcast with them. And if you are finding value in it, I'm sure a few other of your friends will as well. So we appreciate the support. So guys, that's it. Brian here, Brian's Lawn Maintenance and Fullerton Unfiltered. Guys, we'll catch up with you on the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.